Hi everyone, I'm on the front steps of Alameda City Hall. I'm about to go and interview Alameda City Manager John Russo. And isn't this place clean, neat, and tidy? Look at this. Look at that lawn. This is not an urban place. City Manager. It's quiet. I have to wait. Ooh, this is nice. Look at this. It's clean. Like old city of Oakland chairs. Look at that. Interesting. I will sit. Oh, there's the Alameda Point. Okay, so there's Alameda. That's Oakland. San Francisco is that direction. That's the San Francisco Bay. And actually that is the San Leandro Channel. According to Foursquare, I am 1 day away from becoming the mayor of Alameda. Finally.
Taking a picture of the digs or something.
Video.
Okay.
Well, sort of video. Hey. Oh my God. This is great. This is very nice. Oh, very impressive. Very impressive.
It's not that impressive. It's a nice
I like
building.
It's disgustingly neat. Look at this. This is great.
Yeah, well, that's me. You may recall my old office was pretty neat too.
Yeah. Some housekeeping, folks. Hold on. I had John to take his tie off.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about Alameda. This is not about Oakland.
Right.
For Oaklanders, this is about Alameda because John's in a new place.
Right.
But I got to ask you this question.
Sure.
What's the first thing you did the first day?
I named Mike Noonan police chief. Mike Noonan had been interim police chief here for almost a year. And one of the issues with Alameda's organization is the number of
Interims.
people in acting positions and interim positions, and that needed to be remedied. And first and foremost, the prime service that local government provides is public safety. It's police and fire. So I thought it was very important to name Mike and make him permanent police chief.
And how's your relationship with this mayor?
My relationship with this mayor is excellent. I've known Marie Gilmore for 7 or 8 years now, and have always had a great deal of regard for her intellect, for her class, her ability to present in public settings, to present beautifully, both in terms of her ability to give a speech or to talk, to really listen to people. I've walked door to door with Marie. She walked door to door with me when I ran for assembly 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I've known her a long time. She's got, top-notch education. I think she symbolizes something important by being the first African-American woman to be mayor in Alameda. So that's a bonus. But yeah, Marie and I, the mayor and I speak pretty much daily. And we're always very surprised by whenever we sit there. It seems like every time we sit down to talk, we have exactly the same things that we want to talk about, and we almost always come at solving the problem exactly the same way.
Wow.
So it's a good match. I mean, I hope it's not just a honeymoon period, but it's a really good match in terms of our sensibility of how we analyze public policy issues. And I think we're going to do really good things here.
How are you adjusting? Because when I walked in, this is a pristine, clean place. It's quiet. It's
great.
different.
It's totally different.
It's like retire.
No, it's not. Oh my God, I'm working harder here than I was working in Oakland. I'm working faster and harder
Because you're the city manager.
Well, I'm city manager, but also this is an organization that I've had. This organization has had 7. I am the 7th city manager since 2005. When you count the actings and the interims.
This is 2011.
Right. So in 6 years, I'm number 7.
So basically, they've had a city manager every 0.9 years?
Yeah, about every 10 months.
Wow.
And that's a recipe for instability. It's a recipe for having thornier political problems not get solved, both large and small. So my goal here has been, before August, before the council break in August, has been to try to
The
check
Alameda
off-
City Council.
The Alameda City Council,
Right.
yes. To try to check off the list a number of either contractual issues or other problems that have been hanging around for years in some cases.
Like,
I'll give you an example. We have been negotiating with the owners of the Alameda Marina, which is along the estuary. We've been negotiating, staff has been negotiating with them on the terms of a lease extension. Their lease ends in 2015. They've been negotiating since 2007. We are very close, and we should, I would imagine, if not on the meeting of the 19th, certainly the first meeting back in September, we will sign an extension. We're completely in agreement on all terms now. It's just crossing the T's and dotting the I's. A lot of that went through closed session. I can't go into the details
Sure.
because it's closed session. But the council at the last closed session was very pleased with the negotiating posture of the city and the agreements that we had reached with the owners of the marina. Again, it's a 4-year negotiation that we've been able to knock out. The firefighters, their contract ended in January of 2010. They had been working without a contract. That was my first meeting as Alameda City Manager, was to get the firefighters contract passed. That was controversial. There are a lot of people, not a majority, I believe, but there are many people in Alameda who are unhappy with the pay scales, pension benefits, medical benefits that public safety officers receive. And that made it difficult politically. But nevertheless, it was a 4-1 vote of the council.
What is the discord based on?
You'd have to ask the people who are opposed. I think what you're looking at is you're looking at a generation, you're looking at a political environment, not just in Alameda, but everywhere, where you got the leading edge of the baby boomers are retiring. Baby boomers did not save at the rates that their parents did. They relied upon bubble-based stock market gains, both the tech bubble of the late 90s, that burst. Then they got another run based on the housing bubble,
Right.
and that burst. And so the two major run-ups in values, both equity values and home values that came up, grew dramatically, and I think caused a lot of baby boomers in their last 10 to 15 years approaching retirement to kind of relax and say, well, it doesn't matter that I didn't save all that much because I'm going to score on the house, or I'm going to score on this second property condo I bought, and or I'm going to score on my 401k because the market's going to bounce back. And of course, now you have so many people whose estate planning and retirement planning are in ashes. And then they turn and look, and they see that friends are losing jobs, they're losing jobs, they're getting older, and then they look and they see that the people who are their age and maybe younger are retired with fabulous pensions like public employees
Right.
get. And so there's a
Based
lot
on
of
their
bitterness.
tax money.
Sorry?
Based on their tax money.
Based on money that they paid.
Right.
Good point. So I think it's very easy to see why people could become disenchanted, bitter in that scenario. And I think some of that is at work here in Alameda as well. Alameda, there's a unique situation in which the firefighters have been in sort of locked in guerrilla warfare with the various administrations over the past 6 years. It's been kind of a Cold War. The firefighters responded to that by being very politically active in the last election and very successful in their political activity. And so the folks who are already upset about pensions and benefits and the like are now all the more unhappy because they see that political success as creating a non-level playing field in terms of decision-making by the council. They feel that way. I don't believe it to be true, but
Sure.
they feel that way. And so there was a lot of
That's fascinating, because normally
difficulty it's, in Oakland, it's the police that are the kind of,
Right.
the bad guys.
I was going to say, normally you want
from a union
you want your fire people to be well paid, as
Of
opposed
course
to.
you want them to be well paid. I mean, this is so much influenced by the general economic problem that we face.
Worldwide.
And worldwide now. And by
Scary.
the general, yeah, it is scary. It's based on that, and it's based on some unique dynamics in Alameda politics. I don't have anything to do with that.
Right.
That's not my job.
Right.
I no longer worry about the politics or who's angry or who's not angry. I came in from the time that I was asked to do this job and that I accepted, which was beginning of May. Things happened that made the contract possible. And so the firefighters are paying 22% more toward their own pensions. They're not getting a raise again for the life of the contract. I mean, it'll be 6 years total without raises for them. And they've also agreed not to put something on the ballot to mandate minimum staffing,
Right.
which we have in Oakland.
Right,
minimum
right,
staffing.
absolutely.
So that's a good. Those are all good things.
I got to ask this. The last city manager was very controversial, to say the least.
Well, not the last one was Lisa Goldman, who is my assistant.
The
You were
interim.
talking about Ms. Gallant.
Right,
Foreman,
right.
Okay.
Do you find that you have to clean up for some of her activities of the past, or?
I think it's part of the constant changeover. She was always the interim, right? So
She did
wasn't
always have
the
a tag,
permanent-
yeah.
She wasn't the permanent city manager, and I don't know her. I've never met her, and she's got a claim against the city, so I also have to mind a little bit what I say. But I think the problem was broad instability in the organization.
Beyond her,
I think,
essentially.
well, clearly.
Because you keep changing city manager.
Clearly it was beyond her. I mean, she replaced someone, Ms. Carita, who was named after a search. Before Ms. Carita, there was an interim, there was an acting before that. It's just been a string of changes, and I think it's hard in that situation, unless you're coming in, as I did, with a 5-year contract, where you say, okay, I'm going to be here a while so I can take on some unpopular things.
Like the firefighters.
Well, yeah, I mean, then that had to be done because we had to pass a budget the
Right.
next week. How do you pass a budget when you don't have a contract for your union and your contract is a year and a half late? I mean, what I was explaining to the public at the meeting was, if we fight them and go to arbitration and we don't get the result we want, we're going to owe them back pay for that
Right.
year and a half.
Right.
What kind of hole will that blow into our budget? So I thought it was important to get that resolved. I was happy that that was resolved. And as far as Ms. Gallant, I really don't have anything bad to say about her. It's just not what I'm going to do.
Now, on the matter of the Alameda City budget, compared to Oakland's situation, where does it stand?
Alameda's budget is in much better shape than Oakland's budget. Alameda's funds are sound, our various other enterprise funds, keeping in mind that Alameda has a general fund of about $76 million, but our all funds exceeds $200 million. So Oakland, it's about half-half, right? It's about half general fund, half the balance.
Right.
Here, it's about a third is general fund, and 2/3 are all the other funds. And remember, on top of all that, we own and operate the greenest little utility in the West.
So what you getting revenue from?
We get some revenue from, we do get some revenue from AMP, Alameda Municipal Power, but it has to be justified as a reflection of the services provided to AMP. The nice thing about having our own power company, besides the fact that we are very green, our purchasing of power is heavily leans toward renewables and green, other green sources. But our rates, and our people benefit from this, our rates are 80% of what the Bay Area pays.
But in fairness to Oakland, Oakland's population is 400,000. Alameda's is what?
75,000.
75,000.
Right, but
So you're looking at, but then also demographically it's different. You've got a less
well,
cost.
it's a totally
different
city.
animal.
It's
Yeah.
a completely different animal. that's a different question. The question you asked me is how are we squared away budget-wise?
Right.
And
But
we're much better off than
but
Oakland.
I see it as similar.
That's not a moral judgment, it's just
Well,
a fact.
no, not at all. But I see it as similar because every city has a carrying capacity. That is, what we can produce in terms of its revenue, but then also what co-committed costs it produces from its residents.
Correct.
What I'm saying is that you're in a better situation because you're a smaller city with less cost. You don't have the, argument.
Right.
Now, if I'm wrong, challenge me.
No,
But,
not at all.
that'd be a great.
We have our challenge, all right, so let me finish off. The
Sure.
difference between Alameda and Oakland. Alameda is not dependent on redevelopment funds the way Oakland is for ongoing costs,
Right.
for the expenditure of ongoing costs. So if redevelopment goes away, it hurts us here in Alameda, but it doesn't devastate our staffing the way it does
In
for
Oakland.
the folks in Oakland.
Right.
So that's one reason we're better off. Another reason we're better off is that we have substantial reserves. We have reserves that are, I think, about 20% or so of our general fund. In fact, it's actually in excess of 20%.
Wow.
So that means we've got about 15, 16, if I got the number right, it's 15 or 16 million dollars in the bank. That enabled us, for example, we balanced this budget, we did take $1 million out of reserves. My theory being, reserves are there for a rainy day. It's definitely raining with this economy, but we can't expend all the reserves, and we have to be very judicious and not rely on that, and nor did we.
So it's fair to argue that even though Alameda, and I haven't looked at this, had a property tax revenue decrease, it wasn't as dramatic as Oakland's or perhaps the county as a whole.
I think that's true, but I don't know. I think it's true that we
Because there would be
didn't.
no way Alameda could be in this shape if it were the case that that you had an Oakland style crash, if you will.
Well, right, but
Yeah.
Alameda's troubles is, the reality is, we take in less money than we spend. We still are spending more than we gain in tax revenue. And that is a structural deficit that is not merely based on the bad economy. What it's based on is the major economic catalyst for Alameda was the Naval Air Station. There's thousands and thousands of jobs out there, people who then spent money here on
Right.
Webster Street in Alameda, bought things from Alameda merchants. That, and also it was in lieu of payments being made. So the loss of the Naval Air Station without any replacement for tax revenues coming in, given the fact that the Naval Air Station had residents, but not a lot of residents who were making demand on city services, that was a net moneymaker
Oh, by
for
the way,
city.
where is that, the Naval Air Station?
The Naval Air Station, that's a long answer, I'll come back to it.
Sure, absolutely.
So the consequence is we have got to make that Naval Air Station into something that is a net profit for this corporation, for the municipal corporation, City of Alameda. We have to make decisions going forward about what is to be developed out there that are consistent with a clear understanding that we need that base to generate revenue. It can't just generate enough revenue to pay its infrastructure and its new service demands. It's got to generate enough money to close our gap.
Right.
And that's the direction we're going to go. So it's going to be more jobs, less housing. It's going to be more businesses that will pay for infrastructure and will be able to generate business-to-business sales tax revenue. It will be more about people counter-commuting through the tube to go to jobs in Alameda, as opposed to 3,000, 4,000 housing units of people who are then trying to get through the tube along with everybody else in the morning to their jobs in the rest of the East Bay and in San Francisco. So to answer your question, the future of the city and our budget in the long term, going out 15 years, is intricately linked to what happens and what decisions are made about what will be developed at Alameda Point. And so our biggest issue right now with Alameda Point is We are meeting tomorrow night with the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab people.
How's it
We're
going?
having our public meeting out at Alameda Point tomorrow night. Alan Michon of Grand Lake Theater fame lives in Alameda and also has...
So he loves you now.
He always loved me.
I'm just kidding.
Alan and I have always seen eye to eye on most things about local politics. We're going to have the meeting in a theater that's out there. We're having a barbecue for the community. We would anticipate having several hundred people show up and tell the folks.
That's tomorrow?
Tomorrow night. 6
time?
o'clock is the barbecue. Come out and film it.
Okay.
Okay.
What?
7 o'clock is the meeting. 6
Address.
o'clock is the barbecue. Just go out to Alameda Point. You can't miss it.
Okay.
Just follow the signs. You won't miss it.
All right.
We believe our competitive advantage against the other contenders is our united community. Everybody, no matter what the schisms are in Alameda politics, everybody is pretty well united in favor of bringing LBNL out to Alameda Point. And so if you look around town, you'll see, for example, on Webster Street, there's a big banner that says, let's put the point to work. We've created logos, we've got lawn signs, we've got buttons, we've got everything. Now, some
Where's the
folks
button?
think- I don't have it here.
Ah.
You know, some people poo-poo that and think that's not serious and that's not a good way to go. Believe me, it's no substitute. The public relations piece is no substitute for the good, solid engineering and economic work that our people are doing.
Right.
But it is true that every major project in California has to have an eye toward public acceptance. If not, you can be held up in court for years with CEQA lawsuits and such.
Right.
So it is not meaningless. It is very important that we can show our competitive advantage because some of our competitors really can't promise a united public.
How's your relationship with Alameda Bloggers? Have you met them yet?
I've met with some of them. I've met Adam Gillett blogs, and he was here, and he's always unhappy with the government pretty much, and that's his right, and he's a good writer. There's John Knox White, who's very concerned about transparency. Met with him a couple of times, most recently Friday, together with the League of Women Voters of Alameda to talk about the Sunshine Law we'll be putting in front of the council in September. Lauren Doe, I have not met, but I read her every day on Blogging Bayport. Eve Perlman from Alameda Patch did an extensive run of interviews with me as I was leaving Oakland about Alameda, about what Alamedans could expect from a new administration.
That was the video, right?
She did 5 videos.
Yeah, I saw
she
that.
did 5 2-minute videos.
I read, I looked at them in preparation for this, actually. Yeah.
So I think I've met a lot of the folks. There's some others that I read all the time, but I haven't met. And I'm starting to recognize the same names on each of the sites. The commenters are basically, largely the same participants.
Right.
That doesn't mean they're the only readers, however. Lots more people read than comment.
True.
Some of the comments, people start going back and forth and debating stuff, and they kind of get lost in the weeds of, back in 1962, everybody was doing the twist, but I wanted to do the Watusi. And they kind of get into that a little bit, and it's kind of fun to read, but it kind of goes in my,
I'm surprised you didn't reference Barbara Streisand.
Yeah, well, so it just kind of goes in and pops out again, but it's always good to get a flavor of what people are thinking.
Do you miss Oakland?
I live in Oakland, so I don't miss Oakland. I live in Oakland. My kids go to Oakland Public Schools.
I mean,
You mean City Hall in
Of course.
Oakland? Do I miss Oakland
Yeah.
City Hall? No, not really. I feel badly about what's happening there. As a resident, I feel badly about it. But I think 16 and a half years at City Hall was a good run.
It was an excellent run.
Proud of a lot of things that we did in my office. And outside of Oakland, the things we did received tremendous recognition and validation. Never got that kind of recognition and validation inside City Hall. But as you know, it's part of the nature, the culture in Oakland City Hall is that people are very concerned about when someone else might get credit for something.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
so much so that they want to pull the rug out from under you.
Well, absolutely.
Right there.
And of course, my reaction and attitude toward that is You go do good things.
Yep.
And then we all look good.
On the Raiders headquarters is here.
It is.
What kind of relationship do you have with them as city manager? Do they have a lease issue? Those are things that a sports fan might want to know.
I thought they owned their property out
I think
there.
in the master lease agreement mentioned something about Alameda.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was. I haven't met any supplementals to the master lease agreement in a long time.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I have a very friendly relationship with Ms. Trask. I like her. I think she's really smart. And
They do own their property. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I think they do too. We've not talked. We spoke last time. I think we spoke was probably around January or so. But I'm always happy to work with them. It's good to have them here.
Oh, you look comfortable.
I am comfortable.
Nice.
I am comfortable. It's a great situation. You saw the place. It's big enough that you've got all kind of issues, as you know, and it's really kind of small enough you can get your arms wrapped around.
Now, have you picked out a restaurant you like? Have they named the sandwich after you?
No, we're not going to do that again. That was fun. When I was a council member, that was a really fun thing to do. No, because people will say, you would help a restaurant, they were having trouble because the county inspectors and the city inspectors were giving contradictory instructions, and, you'd mediate as a council member. All council members do this. That you'd mediate between them about, how do we get one set of instructions so this guy can open or this woman can open her place. And when you do it, people immediately want to do something for you, especially people who are in the food business, want to give you food. And I was very concerned. I did not want to take gifts. So they would say, well, what can we, you can eat here anytime free. No, I can't do that. I have to pay you. There's got to be something we can do for you. Come on. And my reaction back then was, okay, name something after me on your menu. I thought that was a fun thing to do.
It is fun, yeah.
There's really there's no economic value to it. And it was kind of goofy and fun, and it was the mindset I was in when I was in my 30s.
Oh, and you brought Alex with you, by the way.
I did. I brought Alex Wynn with me. He is going to be in charge of our citizen emergency response. He's a deputy city manager here. He is supervising over information technology, the housing authority, and all of the functions that have to do with interacting with the public. Because one of the complaints about Alameda City Hall is that it's not sufficiently responsive, and we need to do better.
Is that going to include a credible social media campaign?
Well, there you go. That's a good example. We have to look at that website. Now, interestingly, the new website...
More than a website.
More than a website.
Twitter, Facebook, blogs.
Right. Exactly. No,
YouTube channel. Your own video program.
We just had this conversation.
Pushing out your media, We
just had this conversation. Alex and I had this conversation yesterday about the need for Alameda to have an approach that encompasses social media. That without an approach that, for example, I sent out a press release about hiring somebody, Chief Ruben Grijalva, to do the investigation about what happened out at Crown Point, with the tragedy where the guy committed suicide and everybody stood and watched because policies were they weren't supposed to go in the water.
Right.
And I sent it out, and somebody sent back to me and said, this is not in a format that I can retweet. And so, I went to Alex and said, we got to figure this out, because this is not a way to do business anymore. This is like,
I got to ask the question that you mentioned it. Possible change in policy from that?
Oh, yeah, and we've already changed policy. I mean, we changed policy. They did it before I got here.
Good.
The policy now is the lead public safety officer at the scene has full discretion to order people into the water. And in the meantime, you've had 30 of the firefighters volunteer to get swim training and rescue training. No extra pay for doing it, that they volunteered to do it. So there's no like, well, we're not going to do it unless you, which is one of the accusations against the department, that nobody will do anything unless you pay them. We bought a boat, so we have a boat that can be towed. It's located in such a way that we can get in the water within 15 minutes. That's our goal right now, is get in the water in 15 minutes. It's a Zodiac, it's an inflatable, we bought the boat, we bought the trailer, we hook it, go. So we would like one of the council members, Councilmember Dahan, kind of gave us a lead on someone who might donate a second boat to us. That would help, because then we could keep a boat in one part of town and a boat in the, right now we have a boat is in a central part of town, but it would be better if we could put them on two ends of town.
Faster response. Sure, right.
Yeah, we can get faster.
It's actually a big city, if you think about it.
Well, it's
I mean,
large,
land-wise.
Yeah, no,
land-wise.
absolutely. We need to be in a position that we can get in the water promptly. And obviously, as I said in one of my statements on this, clearly the decision to change policy, the decision to not train, or whether there was a decision to not train or it was just left not to happen, whether it was an active decision or it didn't happen kind of thing. Whatever happened was clearly wrong. It was clearly the wrong decision for a city that's surrounded by water. And I'm not interested in, sort of assessing blame. We will, with the independent report, have a chronology of how we got there, and we will have a chronology of what actually happened minute by minute the day of, and then we'll have an analysis of the things we've done since Memorial Day. Are they adequate? What more do we need to do? And what other vulnerabilities can be identified? And so,
how much more time you got, by the way?
I have another.
Machines don't
I
work.
have 11 minutes.
Cool, okay. As we get to a close, it seems to me like you're in a situation where you're coming in to improve a municipal government.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to speak derisively of the government, because I know people here as well, and they're good people.
Yeah.
It's just that, but it seems like there's a certain culture that has developed that could be better responsive, but also wants to be. It seems like there are a lot of people very happy you're here.
That's nice to hear. I've met with everybody who works in this building. Now we have City Hall West, where Public Works is, and we have, we're spread in a number of different buildings, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Have you done a little tour? Have you walked around there?
I have done some walking around, yes. But I guess the point I was going to make is I've spoken with all of the employees in City Hall. I've had them in the council chambers on several different occasions so that people could pick and choose when they could show up. And in that meeting, what I've said to them is, it is our policy that any email, letter, phone call we receive is to be acknowledged within 1 business day. And being on vacation or being sick, none of that takes away that demand that people be acknowledged. Not that they get their answer in 1 business day, because you can't always do that. And not that they will get an answer that they like, because we have to be direct and honest about what we can and cannot do.
Right.
But one of the complaints has been, you call City Hall and nobody returns your call. You write them and it's like talking into a well. And I've been very direct with the staff that that's what I've heard. That's a complaint. And
it sounds like you need some interns to handle that.
Well, no, I don't. I mean, interns would be good in the summer, but it's a cultural change. It's the idea.
But I'm also asking because someone watching this might say, well, hey, is he looking for interns? Are you looking for interns for college?
We'll always take interns to help us with work. As long as they're not expecting to be paid. As long as they commit to staying for a while.
Sure.
Because, as you know, Zinni, you can get an intern if they're here for 2 months.
Right.
It's not worth it.
Right.
Because they come in, it takes 2 weeks for them to figure out where the bathroom is, where the coffee machine is, and then they're gone.
Right.
So we don't need to be spending time training people who are only going to be here a while. If there are young people out there who want to come and work in a municipal government and help us out, and they're willing to stay and make a commitment for a while, I'd be happy to consider taking interns in all of our different departments. But to get back to my point, we've made very clear to the staff, we being executive management, that there is this expectation that people will be validated, heard, acknowledged within a day. And then we've also, in anticipation of the sunshine law that will come up in the fall, and the council will decide what they want to do, by administrative authority, we are changing in September from the Brown Act 3-day notice period. We're going to the standard 2-week agenda package. Unlike Oakland, where it required a law to get staff to change over, staff here is going to do it voluntarily. So we're using the August council break to change our deadlines. But in the future, starting in September, all relevant materials to council decision-making and the agenda will be available 12 days, 11 full days. By Thursday at 5 o'clock, all the package will be available. And for commissions, it'll be 7 days in advance instead of 3.
So you're basically ready for any surprise visit from Sanjeev Honda, right?
I think Sanjeev would expect no less of me that I did it voluntarily. I'm sure Sanjeev is not going to be coming over here worried about transparency because, you know, in Oakland I was the city attorney and it was difficult because I didn't run the administration to get everybody on board with responsiveness and transparency. One of the reasons I was so happy to have this opportunity is I'd like to try and see what it's like to run an organization that is really making the effort at being transparent and responsive.
And having said that, in closing, where do you see Alameda 1 year from today?
Oh, I don't see big changes in a year. I see us being, in a year, we'll have a new budget in the can. That budget will, again, rely somewhat on some one-time revenues, but I hope it relies much less on one-time revenues than we did this time. I hope that our revenues are higher so we don't have to lay off and devastate the organization, but we are going to move to a balanced budget. In a year I see an Alameda that is working together, a public that's working to help us here to create a transparent government. Again, that doesn't mean I expect that everybody will be happy with the decisions we made. A lot of the decisions that have to be made here are going to be extremely unpopular. I said that the night they hired me. I will make every single person in this room angry within a year. In one way or another, on one issue or another that they care about, I will make them angry. Or at least I'll disappoint them. I hope not to make them angry. But
Not by objective, but by process.
Well, I don't want to make them angry about the process. I want to make them.
I'm saying you're not going to go out just to piss them off.
No,
You're going
of
out
course
to
not.
solve
No,
the problem.
no. Everybody would rather be popular than unpopular.
Sure.
But my job here is to, as I understand my marching orders from the mayor and the council, is to take the steps to set this organization onto a long-range course of fiscal stability.
That's a great way to end. Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, so that's it. That was my interview with Alameda's new city manager, John Russo. And John is very comfortable. Very comfortable.